Today, what I'm going to talk about, well, first of all, I get started, we were just talking about something that I thought was interesting to talk about again, but go ahead and turn to Matthew 11. And what I want to start talking about real quick is, it's interesting that God gives us an imagination, right? We were just talking about this with imagination. And God gives us this amazing thing to be able to, imagine, the things that He has for us. Thanks, Water Girl. Thank you. That was nice. No, it's okay.
Try not to get on the tape.
But God gives us this amazing imagination, gives us the ability to think, to dream up things, because He wants us to use it for His things, the things that He wants us to do. When He says in His Word, that He wants you to be blessed and prosperous, He wants you to imagine yourself that way. He wants you to see yourself that way. He wants you to, when it says that, He sees you as healed and you're sick, He wants you to see that the imagination was meant to be used for the good things. But it's interesting that most of the time we use it for what it wasn't meant to be used for. I mean, really, and it's funny because it's a lot easier to imagine the bad stuff than it is the good stuff. I was just talking to somebody here recently. We were talking about like with work, and I was talking about it'd be so nice to have if I was to buy a bigger house. I would want one that wasn't really big because I want to have enough money to afford a maid. And most people say, "Oh, that's crazy." Whatever. No, think about this for a second. All right. Why not have a maid? Why not have somebody that will come and clean up? Because now you're paying somebody who normally wouldn't have a job. Now they're going to have a job because of you. I want somebody to. I'm not into mowing my lawn. I'd pay somebody to do that. I wouldn't want to spend a ton of money on a house to where I couldn't afford to do that, because then basically the house would have you. It would be just all you would be doing is taking care of that house, and you totally miss out on enjoying it. And I was talking about it, and there's one lady, and she was saying, "Oh, well, that's, if I win the lottery." And I'm thinking, why do people think of it that way? Like, oh, it's like so far out there. The odds of winning the lottery, they said the one in the billion, zillion, whatever it is that you can win the lottery, you have more of a better odds of dying from eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich than you do of winning the lottery. And I've eaten a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm still alive. So people have that idea. They have this imagination, but they go, oh, and that's why we don't use it for good, because we don't think that we can actually get to that place. What's wrong with being so wealthy that you can employ people to work for you? There's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. That's amazing. And the thing is, being employed by us would be the best situation for them because we're Christians and we're going to take care of them, and they're going to see that, and they're probably going to become Christians, like, wow, thinking about somebody, that comes and cleans your house for you, they're going to say, wow, these people really take care of me. They really want to, they pay me above and beyond what I even ask for. They're nice to me. They treat me nice. They respect me. And it's obvious they're Christians because the way they talk. So, it opens their heart. It's just funny that we just don't think of things that way. We kind of just get so narrow-minded in our own little ways that we think. We don't really think above and beyond, The title of my message today is, "It's Too Hard to Be a Christian." It's too hard to be a Christian. And it's funny because a lot of people think that way. A lot of people think, if you talk to a normal person, just have a conversation about Jesus or the Bible or whatever. I love talking to people who aren't Christians. I do. I love it, and there's two reasons why. And the pause wasn't for dramatic point there, by the way. There are two reasons why. The first reason, obviously, I like introducing people to Jesus. It's awesome when I can have a chance to talk about all the good things He's done in my life. But the second thing, and this is what really kind of gets to me, is how do people, to find out kind of how people see Jesus, how people see Christianity. People that are not Christians, how they see Christians. And that's important because, honestly, you want to find out, what is wrong with Christianity. You listen to what people who aren't Christians say, and you say, well, that's kind of odd. Obviously, they're going to be negative about it. Yeah, but there's some valid points, and there's some that aren't valid, They don't like the fact that I have faith and I believe in things I can't see. That's their problem. Honestly, we do it every day. We believe in things we can't see on a normal basis. Just because I start talking about it in a spiritual sense with putting my faith in God, there's no difference. But when it comes to things like how they perceive Christianity, it's funny because a lot of people perceive Christianity as this very hard, rugged, just horrible thing that nobody can do. just requires too much. It's living this horrible life, you know. And the thing, and I guess the point of this message today, and this is something that's been stuck in my heart all week, is we have the power to change the way that people see Christianity. We have the power in us to use the things that God's given us to be able to show people what Christianity is, to show people what it's about to live for Jesus. And if we don't, the world won't be saved, not just by us not preaching, but just by the way we live. You know, like my example earlier, I mean, you know, Christians, sometimes we get so caught up in the battle and the fight. You know, we get so caught up in the thing that we're doing, we're struggling with, we're going through. We never look outside of ourselves to see other people. You know, the scripture I want to talk about today is a very, very common scripture. People have heard it a million times. There's even an old hymnal that we used to sing at our old church. What's that about this? My yoke is easy and my burden's light. I don't even remember the song now. I've sang it so long. You guys remember it? Anybody want to give it a shot? Come unto me. That's what it is, yeah. Well, anyways, in Matthew chapter 11, and it's verse 28, Jesus says this. He says, "Come unto me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Now, the first thing I wanted to say, number one, if you have a heavy burden, how are you going to take a burden off someone else? Right? I mean, think about this for a second. If I'm walking around carrying something heavy, there's no way I'm going to be able to go and help somebody else. You know, Christianity is about other people more than it's about ourselves. But by the way that we live and the way that we act and the way that we perceive things and the way that we think and talk and everything will make a difference on whether or not people are going to want any part of this Christianity. You know, the thing I was thinking about is most people see Jesus as somebody who's telling you a list of do's and don'ts. You know, most people see Jesus as this thing that, you know, I just don't want to follow him because he's just going to sit there and tell me what I can't do. You know, people see Jesus in a certain way because that's the way that we're portraying him. That's the way the world's been taught. I was talking to, like I was saying, I was talking to a guy this last week, a friend of mine, and I love getting into discussions that, you know, with people that aren't Christians. It's fun. It's so much fun for me. I mean, even if, you know, we end where he still doesn't, you know, he's still in me. Like, I'm not going to agree with you is what it came down to. But that's fine. I mean, my thing is, and this is what I told him, I said, it's more important to me that you understand what true Christianity is about more than it is that you believe it. Because believing it's going to come something from your heart. I can't force anybody to believe anything. My job is to preach to somebody and tell them the truth. You know, if let's say, for instance, I'm having a conversation with somebody and they start talking about Holly and they start talking about her in a way that's totally wrong, you know, like they say that bad things about her or whatever, you know. I can't give the examples now because she's actually sitting in church, so I could get away with it last week, but I couldn't get away with it this week. But, you know, and I'm going to say, no, wait, no, that's not how she is. You know, this is how she is. You know, my thing, you know, I'm going to correct somebody on that. I'm going to tell them, no, that's not the way it is. And that's what I told this guy I was talking to. I said, hey, if you don't believe it, that's between you and God. But the bottom line is, I want you to understand the truth of it. Christianity is not about a bunch of laws. It's not about a bunch of do's and don'ts. It's not about taking a book and trying to live out every little thing in your life where you're, you know, always afraid of God going and throwing you in hell. I said, it's not about that. You know, it's about a God who loves and cares for us. It's about a God who wants to take the burdens of our life away from us. It's about a God who wants to give us rest. He wants to give us rest. You know, do people see Jesus as a hard man who wanted to send them to hell, or as an approachable, humble, gentle God who cares? Look at what he says here in the scripture. I want to read it again, and we're going to go back to it a few times. He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." So he says, come to me, I'll give you rest. And then he says, take my yoke upon you, learn of me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your soul. He says, come to me, take my yoke, learn of me, because I am gentle and humble. You know, and it's interesting here, because Jesus said this. He said, learn of me. Learn of me. He wanted you to come to him, and he wants you to learn about him. There's something that he wanted you to learn. What did he want you to learn? That he's humble, that he's gentle. You know, it's funny because when we read this and he says, take my yoke upon you, I remember always thinking it was like, we're talking about like an egg or something? What the heck? What the heck is that? It never made sense to me, you know?